You're listening to a Shockcast original. Shock.
The C Word with Callista. Okay, so welcome back to the C Word with me, Callista, where we get to talk to your favorite content creators and find out what makes them so successful. And if I said the words, bro, don't like that, bro. If you are Malaysian, I know you have comics flashing in your mind right now. Today's guest has been putting our thoughts onto paper in the form of comics for like the past 10 years, I think. He's been one of the people that have been in front and foremost of our minds on social media for all that time, the creator of viral series such as this year's CovidBallz. Ernest Ng has had us bursting out with laughter, sharing and retweeting his work while saying, oh my God, so true, all year long. And now let's find out where all that inspo comes from. Ernest, welcome to the C Word.
Hello. What does the C stands for anyway?
Well, it can stand for content, it can stand for Callista. You've been called the other C Word before, is it?
Many times.
That's actually one of the things that I want to cover later on, because I know like some of your comics have had controversial kind of responses. I want to start from the beginning. So you've been so consistent, right? You're one of those creators who started out with comics and made it big with comics. So I guess the question is, why comics?
I guess it's because I really enjoy the medium and I've been a big fan of comics since I was a kid. I like stories being told in a sequence of pictures. That love for comic has never faded since then.
Do you know which was the first comic or the first series that really blew up for you?
It comes in stages. I think one of those comic strips that I think that still holds dear to me, and I really enjoyed making that one was the Godzilla comic. That one was my most widely shared comic on a global scale. It felt nice to be like, oh, international artist now. But in terms of like, how did I blow up? I think it's gradual.
So how did it all begin? Like, were you doing comics straight out of school or?
No, actually, because I was working full-time at a media company. I was doing that full-time for a couple of years. On the side, I was doing comics as well, and decided to draw comics because I wanted to tell stories and I was actually feeling a bit bored. And actually, I did it right out of uni after I graduated. There was a couple of jobs that I did before getting into that broadcasting company, and I've actually started since then. I was uploading comic once a week.
Are you one of those people who constantly is like, wait, I gotta write this down?
I will usually try to like keep it in my head. And once I get home, I'll quickly write it down. But right now, nowadays, I actually do have a habit of having a notebook around with me to actually take notes in case anything comes up, and I will just quickly write down right now.
Yeah, I feel like, especially now in the age of social media, do you feel like you're so much easier distracted? You know what I mean? Like for me, I'll be, maybe as I'm brushing my teeth, right, I'll be like, oh, I got this idea for a video, and I'll be thinking about it, and then you'll just like rinse, and then it's gone. You're like, I had such a great idea. What was it?
Happens really often. So when you get a good idea, you must quickly write down. So to a point that sometimes when I get a good idea when I'm about to sleep, I will actually like force myself to like, just get up, write in a notebook, then go back to bed. Try not to get distracted too much because the distraction will come.
Okay, and where do you get your inspiration from? I know like obviously hanging out with friends and situations that you and your friends get into, but a lot of your recent comics are not particularly about friends, right? So how do you draw inspiration from that? And what's the process of coming up with an actual comic?
If you're talking about CovidBallz, it's actually kind of like very based on news, and I'll try to compile all the top news of the week and compile them and try to make a cohesive story that everything is linked together, and that's the biggest challenge because linking everything together is like trying to fix a jigsaw puzzle that the sizes don't match. So that's the biggest challenge. And sometimes like throughout the week, when into Wednesday, and then you say, okay, I got enough material for this week's chapter, and you written everything already, you're ready to go into inking and coloring, you sketch it out already. Then coming Thursday, oh, big news, this thing happened, so and so. Then you have to like, I gotta change everything, and it happens very often. It's challenging and it's frustrating at times, but the payoff is very worth it.
Because on my side as well, like we do this video, it's also kind of like a roundup of the news of the week, obviously entertainment news, and we try and get everything settled by Thursday, but Friday is the day that everything happens. It's really hard to kind of like, should we like push this, but then do we have time to edit, So is there a certain schedule that you follow when creating, like, okay, so every Friday or whatever you sit down and draw, and then every whatever day you sit down and do something else? Is there a a set schedule to your day?
During the early days of MCO, yes, there was. But now with the CMCO and everything, and I'm still going out for video shoots, sometimes schedules just get messed around. The consistency is gone from there.
So how would you deal with the writer's block?
Well, I would do is I would actually find something else, something that's not comic or art related. I'll maybe just watch a video, go and cook, read, do anything that takes your mind off the comic. I'll go work out. That's also one of the things that I do. It's sort of like a reset thing. So once you reset, then you just come back to it. And if it still doesn't work, then you just go and find something else to do again. People call it procrastinating, but
I was just going to say, what is the longest time you've actually done that for?
Something you can go on for days. Yeah, if I feel especially burnt out, because right now at the moment also that I'm receiving a lot of requests by companies to draw comics for them. So having a lot of jobs from clients also kind of affects the schedule a bit. They're more time sensitive in the sense where, we need this because the campaign is in this month, then you just have to draw something out as fast as you can for them.
Since a lot of your work is online, I know a lot of aspiring comics will have this question. So how do you turn the passion and fun into something that can actually earn you a living? Like you say, you have clients requesting for comics. I'm assuming before this, it wasn't such a norm for people to do that?
It was, but it has been around. People asking for comic postings. It's been like that for the past couple of years.
For new comics, how would they go about letting clients, maybe approaching clients to do something like that? What would your advice
be? I guess when you start out your own content, I think the first thing is not to focus on getting clients, I would say. I think it's most important is to get better, honing your craft and putting it out there to be torn to shreds by the public. I mean, that is something I believe that everyone should go through. Even though it sucks, the feeling's not so good, but being a comic artist, I believe it's something of the career that requires a lot of resilience. And the most resilient artist tends to last the longest. Because if you give up halfway, then the readers don't care. They just find other artists to read. So are you going to be that artist that is always there for them? Or are you going to be the artist that just quits halfway just because he can't take it? You're doing it because you love it. I'm doing it because I love it. I actually enjoy drawing comics. I enjoy reading comics. I enjoy reading other people's works as well. And there's good content out there. And it's freaking awesome to be part of this artist community. So I would just advise young aspiring artists, just whack. Kena scold, kena caci, kena kutuk, all that. It's all part of it. If you can take it, then you can survive. Being from a very predominantly Asian family, actually predominant, what am I talking about? I'm totally Asian. So it's your first hater are your parents already, because you say, "Hey ma, I want to draw comics for a living." Your parents are going to tell you no already. So if you can resist your parents, why are you so affected by random people on the internet?
You have a very good point.
Yeah. I mean, I would tell people when I go to my signings and I go to give talks, I always tell my dad was my first hater. I always have this belief whenever someone talks bad about you, try to analyze why they talk bad about you and try to see if there's some truth in it. So if someone criticizes your work and say your work sucks and all that, okay, you say I suck. Is there something that he doesn't like about my work? Is it a personal thing, or is it an artistic point of view? So you get to see, try to seek that truth that they believe in and see if it matches with your perspective.
Okay, and speaking of that, so of course your content is very relatable, it's very Malaysian, and it's very time conscious in a way, so it's very up to date on current events, but I'd say it can be quite controversial as well, right? Yeah, so I think a lot of the ones that have personally come up on my feeds touch a lot on race, politics, bringing humor to sometimes very dire subjects. So arguments tend to break out in your comments. I've seen a lot of that happen.
Yeah, it has happened.
Do you ever worry about that kind of backlash, since it's quite sensitive topics?
Okay, we always say Malaysia is a very moderate country, and I'm all about moderation. I don't try to go too much overboard, but at the same time, if you feel there's certain levels of hypocrisy and all that, and you just want to point it out, I know you can just say it, and it's something that you believe in, is your principles. In a way, you just have to see, you have to have certain sets of principles and what you believe in. If you believe it's the right thing to say and the right thing to do, then stick to it. In this line, you must be always berani buat, berani tanggung, is what people say. If you say something wrong, own up to it and just say, yeah, this was wrong.
Have you ever encountered someone who gave you any negative feedback or anything like in person?
People that I know actually tends to do that more often. They think they are entitled to say something that nasty to you.
No matter how much you progress, there's always going to be these people. It's just, are they saying it to you? Are they saying it online, or are they saying it behind your back?
Yes.
Unfortunately for our line of work, you see a lot of things online in your face. What you say is true. You just got to kind of ignore it, take the positive out of it if there is any. If not, just carry on with your life,
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, your comics are on all different platforms. Are you on TikTok?
No, because I haven't figured out how to efficiently make comic videos. And TikTok, I think, is a very fast-moving platform. I'm not so sure how I'm going to translate the comics into TikTok at the moment, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, but you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So which would you say is the best platform for your comics to get seen?
Sometimes I post in all three platforms. And then let's just say, example, Twitter is the one getting the most traction. Or sometimes I post Instagram is the one getting the most traction. Or I post on Facebook is the one. And different comics, different places. So I'm like, it's very hard to gauge. That's why I would suggest for aspiring comic artists, just like if you have all these platforms, just put everywhere. Because I feel like all these platforms, they actually have different demographics.
And how long does it take for you to come up with like a single comic? For instance, from the idea, the storyline, to draw, to publish, how long does that take you?
Depends on the comic that I'm making. If it's just like a 1 page, 2 days, but if it's like 10 to 15 pages a week, that would take 1 to 2 weeks.
Which part of the process do you find the most difficult for you? Like, is it coming up with the actual story? Is it the drawing?
I would say it comes in two different phases. When it comes with the thinking of the idea, that one is mentally most difficult. Physically most difficult is inking and coloring.
So I guess that's your least favorite part of the whole process?
There's no least favorite part. It's just the tiring. I would just say it's just tiring, but I don't hate it. Because if you don't enjoy the process, it's going to be really, really hard for you to like come out with something.
And of course, you just mentioned like you putting out your books, right? So how do you decide which content to publish online and which to save for the books?
This one I actually don't really plan.
Oh, okay.
I kind of like, like whatever I draw and I feel like I just want to post online, just post online. When you just post, you draw something you want to post online, just post online. When I release the book, then I will feel like, hey, look, since everything's online already, I want people to feel that it's worth their money. Then I'll do extra stuff. I draw extra content, especially for the book. So people won't feel like everything online, why do you need to buy the book? So usually in the book, I will actually have only book exclusive content. People who really want to support the artwork will get extra stuff. So it's fair for everyone.
So this is a question that I've asked a lot of other different creators. Of course, you are the first comic artist that I'm speaking to. So I'm wondering if it's the same. Right. When you do client jobs, can it get tricky with what the client is requesting? Because like drawing a comic is not exactly the same as putting out a video or posting a photo, right? Okay,
because I've been both sides of that content format. It's really different. I mean, the effort put in is still massive, on both sides. But for comics, how do I do it is usually, I'll try to propose it in a way that how I would write the story, and I tell them this would work in this way. And I will try to stick to it as hard as I can. And we always try to meet a middle ground, because I know clients want their products and things to be featured in a certain way. I will let them know that this is my style, and they already have to understand that when they engage me. But how the message is being delivered, let's say in terms of the dialogue, in terms of the caption, if they want to change, I'll let you have like control on that. It's actually kind of like applies the same as videos. When you deliver a line, then it's like, oh, you have to say like this. Then okay.
Have you ever had to deal with very difficult clients when it comes to your comics? And how have you dealt with that?
Those clients, there was this client that I already sketched the comic out already, because I have like a set of rules when I do my comic. So once it goes into sketching phase, usually I'll tell them that you cannot ask me to change the idea already, because you approve the idea. Once I go to sketching, it should be that. It gets a little frustrating, but I'll tell them that, look, the drawing is still the same. If we can compromise, maybe we change the dialogue to fit more of your angle. So I'll just change the text. Instead of having to change the whole drawing, which I try not to, because the drawing part is, like I said, tedious. Some clients has been quite accommodating in that sense. Actually, all of them have been. So I'm actually quite thankful for that.
So usually if you do client projects like that, is it more to you draw it for them and then they will do whatever they want with it, or it's you have to publish it?
It depends. Actually, I would prefer if client take the comic and put it on their platform. Then they will get the engagement. They can check the analytics all by themselves, and I don't have to always have to compile a report for them. At the same time, also is to make my page not look so much like an ad page. So I'll just try to keep that to a minimum. So usually I'll tell the client that I would rather you put it on your page. But if they really want to put it on my page, let's say they do not have a very strong social media presence, then okay, sure, we can put it on my page.
I feel like the clients that give you, okay, these are the guidelines. You have total creative agency. Do what you want as long as this is in there. You have tagged us and I don't know, maybe this line is said or whatever. Those are always the best kind of campaigns that you can do, and it also always gets the most engagement.
Yeah, because people come to my page is because they want to see my style of humor. They don't want to come to my page to see a straight up ad, a hard sell ad. Because that's not what they come in for. So as long as client can understand that aspect alone, then it's very beneficial for both the client and the creator himself.
When I started this podcast, it was meant to be more of a hopefully informative platform for aspiring content creators, no matter comics, videos or whatever. But I feel like since I've been talking to everyone, I feel like it could also be very educational if clients also listened to the creator's point of view. Because I think across the board, it's been very, very similar.
Every creator will feel the same way. They create because they believe in their create. That's why they create. Just think of it, this analogy I think is very simple. Imagine you're a baker. People come to your bakery because they want to buy a certain type of cheesecake that you make. And people line up. People come to your bakery to buy this cheesecake. And so this one particular client, look, I want you to make this cheesecake, but I want you to make it my way. But the difference is he's not eating this cheesecake. He's going to take this cheesecake and he's going to give it to his friends and say, this is your cheesecake, but I have put my recipe in it. So when people eat, people doesn't taste the same one. This is not his cheesecake. They say, but I bought it from him. So you see where it doesn't gel well, where the weird thing is going, because he comes to you for your cheesecake, but he wants to do it his way. So whose cheesecake is it in the end of the day? Yeah,
I think that's something that happens a lot as well. And in fact, I've gotten once this comment as well. It's like when clients engage you for your platform, they expect a certain level of engagement or a certain whatever they're expecting, right? But then if you force too much upon it and you cannot be yourself, and then when the video or the photo, and then the engagement doesn't hit because your followers don't connect the dots between you and this creation.
It feels it feels disingenuous.
Or they've never tried your cheesecake before and they're like, I won't go back there because it's not nice.
Yeah, it's sort of if it's being enforced to you too much, then you kind of actually hurt yourself. And as creators, I think we should really try to avoid that from happening, and hopefully clients can find a middle ground with the creators.
So before I let you go, going back to those who probably look up to your comics, look up to your page, bro, don't like that, bro. How did that even come about, bro, don't like that?
Okay, bro, don't like that, bro. It's actually a catchphrase it's not a catchphrase. It's like a phrase that one of my childhood friends used to say a lot. And it just so happened because when I started off this Bro Don't Like That La Bro comic page, it's about the 5 of us and we all live in one house. So this is one guy. He used to have a very controlling girlfriend. And then, and sometimes we just hey, you don't join us, we go ahead without you. And then he would just say, bro, don't like that, bro. And it was he says it so often. It just I had no idea what to call the comment. Okay, I'm just gonna call it bro, don't like that, bro.
And then that became your identity for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a mouthful. Some people they pronounce it wrongly and all that, but it is what it is. Sometimes I still regret I said I should have come up with a more simpler title,
That's actually a good lesson as well to aspiring anybody. Think of the name first. I always say this about musicians, because of course on air, I'm constantly Googling all these singers, all these bands and everything. And some you just can't find information on them because the name is so generic. It could be anything. So I'm how do I talk about you when I can't find what you're doing? So I think that's an important point. But yeah, so for people who look up to bro, don't like bro, what is your advice for those who want to follow in your footsteps? Since you do say like earning a living out of comics is definitely possible, right?
Well, my advice would be don't be lazy. I mean, to put it, that's a very simple way to put it. I mean, I think most important, you really have to enjoy doing it and do it because you enjoy doing it. Don't do it because like, hey, I want to be like him. I want to make a living from comics. I mean, every single aspiring comic artist wants that. Your motivation has to come from you. It cannot be some general blanket statement that everyone shares. For me, it was more like, I just want to kill boredom. Back then, I was bored. And also at the same time, I want to embarrass my friends with the stories. So it's kind of a messed up reason. And during that time, I was like, I just want to embarrass my friends. That was my sole objective. But eventually it came to a point that I actually enjoyed doing it. Because I actually enjoyed the process of drawing. I enjoyed the process of creating a comic piece. Your intention, your motivation have to come from the right place. If you're just doing it to be rich and famous and all those that, it's going to be really hard to keep you going if you always focus on that. Focus on yourself first. Focus on your content. Focus on becoming better every time when you release something, and just release it. Just release it out. I have people who like, hey Ernest, I want to do comics, but I'm so shy to put my stuff out. And I'll just tell them well, put your stuff out, and I can tell you for sure it's going to suck. But don't worry. From the wise words of Jake from Adventure Time used to say that the first step of getting good at something is actually sucking at something first. You gotta suck at something before you get good at it, right? I feel that everyone should be able to embrace. Just suck first, suck at it first, it's okay, And of course, there'll be people who just like that, make fun of you because you're trying something new, like, oh noob, oh you suck. Yeah, we all gotta start somewhere.
All right, well, thank you so much for talking to me. I think that will help out a lot of aspiring comics a lot, and we're looking forward to the next episode.
Chapter, whatever works. But also, I just want to say, if I said anything that offended someone out there, or it come across as not so good natured, or I sounded salty, I apologize.
I mean, we're all human at the end of the day, so
yes.
The C Word with Callista.